Hi folks, hope you're doing well. Well, there was that event last night in America, the capital, of the bunch of moronic idiots thinking that they can charge the capital without any consequences. Yeah. Yeah. Well, I mean, ridiculously, they believe it was God's work. Yeah, Conservative law firm Minister Tate tweeted saying, landing in DC, here to do God's work, save the Republic, stop the steal. Really? Oh dear. Incredibly stupid. God's work? Really? Doing what they were doing? How is that in any way, shape, or form God's work? You got this virus, right, going around. You're meeting closely together, spreading the virus. Yeah, that's God's work. Yeah, a lot of people are going to die as a result of what you're doing. God's work. Yeah, murder people. Absolutely God's work. Bloody good idea. Yeah. Yeah, that's God's work, isn't it? Then you storm the Congress building with all the Congress's people there, and police and FBI agents and all the rest. Good idea. Yeah, they're all armed to the teeth, but fantastic idea. Yeah. Because you were believing a liar. Someone who's still claiming that the election was stolen, even though months on they provided no evidence at all. No evidence whatsoever. None at all. A 35-year-old lady got shot and killed. She was a wife and mother. So maybe where she is now, which is probably in hell, she should be asked the question, was it worth it? Going all that way for that man called Trump, was it worth it? Ask her husband and her child and her son, was it worth it? Obviously not. Obviously it wasn't worth it in any way, shape or form, was it? Absolutely ridiculous. This idiotic people. Yeah. Yeah, look, if there was evidence, real evidence, absolute blinking evidence, and the Congress weren't taking notice of it. But look, folks, think about it in this way. If you think there could be evidence and the Congress weren't looking at it, 4 years ago, Trump won the election with the least votes. He still won the election, right? Where were you then, screaming out that the person who got the most votes didn't win? Oh, sorry, that was when your side won. Right, okay. So democracy doesn't matter when your side wins, only when your side loses. So really, as we all knew before the election, and we did pretty much all know before the election, those of us that weren't completely right-wing nuts understood before the election, if Trump lost, in any way, shape or form, if Trump lost, this would happen. Because Trump was calling for it. Trump was telling his people, don't vote by mail. Why was he doing it? He was doing it because then you could claim that mail-in votes were fraud. That was why he's telling you not to do it. Because then he could claim that those sort of votes were fraud. Right? Of course, you're not too stupid to realise that a legitimate way to vote, your candidate is telling you not to vote in a legitimate way of voting. None of you bothered to ask the question, why would he be saying that? Oh, dear. Well, and then you've got idiots on the right saying what they don't understand is how could Biden win more votes in certain areas than Obama did. Well, it's quite simple, sunshine. Are you that stupid you cannot figure it out? Obama wasn't going against a lying racist who was damaging the country. Right? Biden was. So people come out to vote for Biden because of Trump. Obama wasn't going against Trump. Obama was going against that lovely, what's his name? That lovely senator who's dead now. But lovely man. I've forgotten what his name is. McCain. He was going against McCain. McCain was a lovely, honest, truthful man who had fought for his country. And so, of course, there was no protest vote against him. There might have been a protest vote against his vice president because she was a complete nutcase. Previous to that, Obama went against the Republican who was the Mormon. So, of course, no protest vote against him either. Romney. So the two people that Obama went against, there was no need for people to come out and protest against that person with their vote. A lot of people that don't normally vote came out and voted for Biden because of Trump. That's why there was record number of votes. Because people had seen how Trump had handled the position of presidency. Even his own supporters had seen how he'd handled it. They didn't like the fact that he was spending all the time tweeting and marching, going on, election campaign after we won it, just after we won it, starting the next election. They weren't particularly impressed at the fact that there was a COVID virus and yet he was encouraging people to come to his marches, risk their lives. A lot of his voters weren't happy with stuff like that. They recognise that. The thing of it is, they wouldn't recognise it enough necessarily to think, well, okay, we'll vote for Biden instead. But those people on the left side, that was enough to push them out to vote, even though they don't normally vote. Did they want another 4 years of him? Look at how he's handled the situation since. He was the one telling people, get out there. Go and march against them. Go and take your country back. So what were the people doing who were marching on there? That young woman, what was she doing? Exactly what Trump had told them to do. Exactly what Trump had told them to do. The authorities, let me read just what they said here. Right, it said a number of police and Secret Service were saying, get back, get down, get out of the way. She didn't heed the call. Problem is, these people, these Trump voters, believe that for some reason, because they're white, that the police wouldn't shoot them. They're right to a certain degree. To a certain degree, they're absolutely right, because saw something earlier where they showed standoff between police officers who were inside a room and rioters who were outside the room with the door closed. You could see the rioters outside. The police were aiming their guns at the door. Guarantee you, had those protesters been brown-skinned, they probably would have been full of bullet holes. That's quite likely. Quite likely. I think to a certain degree, the police believe that people that are brown-skinned are more likely to shoot them. So they're more likely to come into that shooting, trying to kill the police rather than, pinky-skinned people. I don't think that's true. I don't think there's any truth in that at all. It's also reported that the protesters had a couple of pipe bombs. Yeah, that's God's work. I mean, God's work also. If the police and Secret Service are telling you to get back and aiming guns at you, what do? You get back. Well, you think God's going to deflect that bullet away from you? Clearly, that woman's now found out he didn't. They breached the building. They attempted to enter the house chamber. Yeah, come on. She leaves a husband with a small child. Well, I'm not sure exactly how old the son is, but yeah. It's an awful situation, to say the least. She had served 14 years in the Air Force and says she'd have the country and felt honoured to have served in the armed forces. She's now dead for attacking the country. Attacking. Because a vote didn't go their way. And they had a president who was basically giving them up. Go on, you go and attack it. Go on, don't worry, there've been no consequences. Go on, I'm with you. He even said on the rally yesterday, I'll be right there with you. Was he? Nope. Of course he wasn't. He was telling them he's going to be right there with them. That's why they bloody went. I tell you what, folks, if you want an example of what the Antichrist to be like, Trump. God's work. Yeah, following the Antichrist. Great idea. The level of insanity. I mean, anyone who's listened to my videos knows that I don't put up with left-wing crap or extreme crap. I hate that. I hate this. Just the same. It's just wrong. There's so many levels of wrong involved in this stupidity. 4 people dead. 4 people dead. Insane. For what? Was it worth it? No. Yeah. Storming the Capitol. Was it worth it? Really, was it worth it? I mean, you've got so many Republican Congress people and senators as well who have been fueling this fire as well. Problem is, you keep fueling the fire, people are going to get burned. That's the reality. People are going to get burned. Stop fueling fires. What are you doing? So I say the level of stupidity there is just remarkable. Stop fueling fires. Why would you be doing that? You're causing a system that is just, incredibly dysfunctional, to say the least. Well, it just is. It's just madness, isn't it, really? That's why we need light. You've got people being guided by President Trump. People who claim to be children of God being guided by President Trump. I mean, can it get much more disturbing than that? I mean, how turned around can the situation be? And that really. People believe doing the will of President Trump is doing God's will. I know America isn't the most educated country in the world, but come on. But again, you've got to look at it. This has been going on for a long time. For a long time. You've got to ask, though, I mean, from a point of view of military, how on earth did this woman ever get any qualifications enough to actually be serving in the military when she believed all the lies of Trump? Bad situation. As I asked that question about her education, realised then straight away as soon as I was asking it, education system has been designed to create repeaters. And so with that being the case, when Trump says something, they just repeat it rather than question it. The army, the forces are designed to create repeaters. You're told something and you just do it rather than question it. She was doing what she's been trained to do. That's why we need to renew the mind, because when people have been brainwashed to just do stuff like this, then that's not good in any way, shape, or form. That's what it is, really. People are just... Those people, it was like watching zombies. Watching zombies run through the wall buildings. Yeah. Ran around with cones on their head, drunk. And they probably were quite drunk. Yeah. Whoever she was, I don't know. Probably not. No idea. She might have been, she might not. Don't know. But it's terrible. It's terrible for the son. She has a son that's got to grow up now without his mum. I don't know whether... I'm trying to see. Yeah, she's still married to her husband. She had a husband called Aaron in San Diego. Yeah. Well, and that, for him, he had watched her serve 4 tours of duty. Maybe worrying about her, whether she would get injured on any of those tours. She comes back and gets killed in her own country by the authorities in her own country because she's there trying to storm the US Capitol. Doing exactly what should have been told as a member of the armed forces, that you can never do that. She became basically what the army would fight against. Well, because the army is supposed to defend you against enemy combatants, foreign or domestic. She would be a domestic combatant. Trying to storm the US Capitol, yeah. That is like trying to wage war against your own country. Crazy business. Crazy, insane business. All because the election didn't go your way. But as I say, You look at Trump, he's been stirring this pot, feeding this fire for 2 years now. A good 2 years. He's been talking about the election's going to be rigged. He's been talking about the votes need to be done. He's been talking about the fact that there's no way he can lose unless the other side cheats. He's actually said these exact words. Can we be that surprised that his more extreme supporters are going to therefore be thinking, yeah, okay, we need to do something about this, because obviously he's been telling us even before the election that this would happen, and it's happened. God. Yeah, he's been telling you this because he knew it was likely he would lose. He wasn't going against Hillary Clinton, who at the time of the last election looked as if she was 2 hours away from death. And she was definitely not trusted because the Republicans did their utmost to try and destroy that woman with the amount of inquiries against her. So they damaged her. She was damaged goods. The Democratic Party should never have put her forward. Never. If they'd have put anyone else forward 4 or 5 years ago, Trump would never have won the election. He won the election because the Democrats put a dead duck. They thought that they could put a dead duck, and even a dead duck would beat Trump. It didn't. Or she didn't. That's why she didn't challenge any of it. That's why she didn't try and contest any of it at all. Because she basically knew that she had no chance. See, most voters, when you've got a candidate shouting, lock her up, lock her up, lock her up, lock her up, most voters will be turned off against that. Obviously, Ashley Babbitt was not turned off. That was a lady's name who died. She wasn't turned off by that. She should have been. Of course, she should have been. She should have been turned off by that. All these people, this other lady who's a conservative writer, Melissa Tate, should have been turned off by that. But her tweeting on Monday, landing in DC, here to do God's work, save the Republic, stop the steal. Miss Babbitt replied to her, I will be there tomorrow. God's speed. Yeah. Now, if Melissa Tate had said, well, let's not do that. It's not God's work at all to do that. The Republic isn't in danger. But as soon as they put things like save the Republic, of course, people that are a bit simple-minded, but who love the country, are going to seriously believe that maybe the Republic is in danger. And so therefore they've got to go and march. They've got to go and do that. It's insane, isn't it, when you think about it? What would be good afterwards, and what would be absolutely brilliant afterwards, really, is if her family would sue President Trump afterwards. Yeah, when he's left office, sue him for all the encouragement, for feeding that fire, for encouraging their daughter, that lady, Miss Babbitt, to go there, for winding people like her up to the point, you used to have the Jack in the Box. So when it is wind up, wind up, wind up, wind up, bang. That's what Trump has done. Continually wind up, wind up, wind up, wind up, wind up. And of course, when there's a bang, Trump says, oh, nothing to do me. Not my fault. Oh, no, I didn't say that. No. Even his supporters are saying, no, Trump didn't say that. Yeah, he did. He did say that. He did say, he told people to march on DC. He told people to take back the country. He told them he would be there with them. He told them he was going to march and take back the country, therefore. Right? Well, if it's that important, the president himself is going to march and take back the country, we've got to go there, haven't we? We've got to support him. No, I would thoroughly back and pray for a successful suing of President Trump by that woman's family and the other 3 victims. Do a joint case. Take everything he's got, every bloody thing he and his family's got. Take it all. If necessary, take it all. Take every penny. Get every penny. Build a bloody bonfire. Chuck it on there. Burn the whole lot. Just do it so you can take it from Trump. Just do it so you can take him and his family down. That's what I'd do. I'd support that. No, it's sickening. Absolutely sickening. There's all levels of wrong in that. All levels of wrong. I mean, again, encouraging people to march. A lot of these people didn't have masks on, right? Which is okay. That helps the police to identify who they are, and they're going to get arrested for that. But America is a country that's lost hundreds of thousands of people because of COVID. What are you doing? Going to a march? Being close together? I mean, one of the most ridiculous things, like even in the UK, they had a Black Lives Matter march, I think, the other day. Which, of course, the UK is on lockdown, has been since the 27th. So they had a Black Lives Matter march. So this is the equivalent. Those in America that marched upon the Capitol were right-wing. Those who marched in London for Black Lives Matter were left-wing. Both were idiotically, disgustingly wrong. So you have a march in London, Black Lives Matter. Even if you're wearing masks, masks do not protect you from the virus. They do not protect you from the virus. They're only going to stifle any cough. So if you've got the virus and you cough, the droplets from your mouth aren't going to travel a huge distance because of the mask. That's it. That's all that mask does. If you're in a conversation with someone who's got COVID and you've got a mask on and you're quite close to them and they haven't got a mask on, you're going to get COVID. That mask is not going to protect you. You're still breathing through that mask. Right? So anything that's coming towards you is going to come. That mask is not protecting you in any way, shape, or form. Stop having marches. This is not the time to do that. And Black Lives Matter, what's the problem? Yeah, because of COVID, has your message got a bit diluted? Because don't tell me for a second that suddenly you're going to go out and march again because it's really important. Why? You've got sports people and politicians and other people doing the Black Lives Matter fist pump. Stop marching. So Black Lives Matter, I wouldn't have cared too much about them necessarily now if they've been standing up against abuse against brown-skinned people for decades. They haven't. Or even deaths of brown-skinned people caused by brown-skinned people. They don't care about that. in any way, shape, or form. They've never cared about it. What they've cared about is that if a police officer abuses a brown-skinned person, or certainly a pinky-skinned police officer, then all of a sudden they come out the shadows, scream, "We told you! Look at that nasty abuse! Look at that racism!" And of course, heavy R on the racism. You've got to emphasize that. This is what the slaves had to put up with, blah, blah, blah. But normally, when there's brown-skinned people killing brown-skinned people over drugs or whatever else, gang sort of stuff, or any other reason, doesn't matter. Doesn't matter. They don't come out for that, do they? What about when they talk about slavery? But do they care about slavery that's happening right now? No. No, they're not against slavery. They only want to moan about slavery because of the slavery that happened to them. Basically, everyone should be moaning about slavery because everyone's ancestors at some point have suffered from slavery. Everyone's ancestors have been slaves at some point. Pretty much so. The Jews were slaves. Europeans were slaves. Certainly to people like to the Danes, to the Hun, to the Egyptians, to the Romans. So, Africa is one of the most recent in history of the world that was enslaved. But everyone else was enslaved beforehand. And you've still got slavery happening now. But that's okay. We don't mind that. You've got women's rights issues happening in Saudi Arabia, a lot of Arab countries. But again, that doesn't matter. The people that scream about equal rights for women, they don't care about equal rights for women in other countries. But unless it's a country where they can get support from, then they care about that. But you see, there's no point them caring about women's rights in Muslim countries because basically the left wing doesn't get any support there, does it? So they're not going to get any money from that, are they, really? Money! That's what matters, isn't it, really? What's all this crap about Trump? What Trump's doing? Why is he doing all of this? Many believe he's doing all of this and has been doing all of this so that he can run another campaign for the next election. That's why a lot of people believe he's been doing all this. So 4 people died while trying to storm the Capitol, so that Trump could have a message for the next 4 years, so he might be able to win the next election. Which, of course, he won't. Not unless the Democrats put a complete moron up as their person for the next election. It'll probably be Harris, I imagine. Well, unless she does something completely ridiculous over the next 4 years. It'll probably be her. And Trump is not going to beat her. Well, not likely. As I say, it depends on what happens. Time will tell. Time will tell what's going to happen. But as far as I know, a couple of good things that did happen is that maybe, depended upon Biden, depended upon Harris, depended upon what they want to do, but they could undo a lot of what Trump has done. They could. Because they just about have the Congress, they have just about the Senate as well. So they could. They could bring legislation to force to undo a lot of the terrible policies of Trump. They could do that, yes. Whether they do, I don't know. I've no idea as to what they're going to do. Hopefully they do things properly. Hopefully they do things well and put things in place that can't be so easily undone by another Trump in the future. Time will tell. That's the reality. Time will tell. We don't know. What's going to happen? No idea. Time will tell. But they've got no excuses because they've got the presidency, the Democrats, they've got the House, and they've got the Senate. So they have no excuses as to why things can't work out and can't work out beautifully for them. We'll see what they do with it, won't we? Yeah, indeed. Hopefully the extreme left will be slapped back into its place, as well as the extreme right. You take care, God bless, and I'll speak to you soon. Bye-bye.